न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भवितवा न भूयः अजो नित्यं शाश्वतं यं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. These five senses are like the five horses. You can see, you can imagine what will happen if five horses run in five different directions. Second in the institute instead of first, and he was so depressed that he actually committed suicide. Just like a driver drives a car, and we see that person who's driving the car is different from the car itself. In the same way, there is a soul which drives a living body. So if you look at matter meaning the basically what we have, what we see in the world around us, right? The matter, the study of matter, right? So we are studying dead material stuff because matter by nature, by constitution is dead. But what is it that gives life to matter is what is the soul, right? And what is the soul? We will slowly understand. So Bhagavad Gita is one of the wisdom literatures in the world. In fact, one of the most widely read and the ancient wisdom literatures of the world. This is what Arjuna says before he start. The Gita is told to him by the Supreme Lord Krishna. Right? He's saying, my whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. He's actually had all these problems: lack of confidence, anxiety. He was demoralized, stressed, depression, right? But after the Gita was spoken, you can see how confident Arjuna was, right? And he actually emerged victorious in spite of all the odds being against him. So this whole understanding which was given to him in Bhagavad Gita began with the study of the soul. In fact, Krishna, right in the beginning, instructs Arjuna that the reason why you're depressed is because you don't understand that you are not the body, but you are the soul. So this question of am I matter or am I spirit, we will see. We'll also look at some scientific proofs because we all are, scientific minded. Difference between a living person and a robot, mechanism of working of the mind, and practical benefits of the knowledge of soul in everyday life. So let's look at the first question: am I matter or am I spirit? Most of the human body is water. In a 60-pound person, there are these components: 5 pounds of calcium, 1.5 pounds of phosphate, 9 ounces of potassium, etc., etc. Now the question is, are we actually these components, right? Because if you actually take the market value of all these components, maybe it won't be more than INR 110 rupees. The question is is it just this price tag, or is there something more valuable which makes our body and our life itself more interesting, right? So that's the question. So certainly we can't place a price tag on a human being, or for that matter any living being, because life is more precious, more valuable than any chemicals. In fact, in Geneva, I think it was a few years back, that one criminal who was being tried in the court, right, for some crime. So he actually his lawyer made a very interesting statement in the court. He said that actually we are all a product of our genes, and we act as per our genetic makeup. So therefore this person, whatever he did, it may be wrong, but he was not in his senses. He was driven by his genes, and therefore he should just be forgiven. So the argument was that we are just driven by chemicals ultimately, so therefore you can just place the blame, pass the buck to chemical, and therefore we own no responsibility for our act. But unfortunately that is a very if that were really to happen, if that were to be implemented, then the world would descend into a lot of chaos. You all know who this is. I don't have to say. Very unfortunate. But then, if you look at it, it's not just her, it happens to everybody, right? So the chemicals are the same, right? In the living and the dead person, right? There's no difference. As such, it's the same chemicals. But what is it which makes a person alive at time t and dead at time t plus delta t? The very source of life is non-chemical by nature, non-material by nature, or what we would say anti-material by nature. That something which is keeping us alive is basically the soul, the real identity. So basically the idea is that the soul never dies, but it does take multiple bodies time and again, and it passes through these bodily changes, but the soul always remains the same. So this Lord Krishna also tells very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita: na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava na bhuyah ajo nityam shashvatam yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So look at this translation, right? For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. Like there's this story of this lady who had a bird in her cage, and she would every day take care of the cage very nicely and polish it and make sure that it is shining, but she wouldn't feed the bird. So what's the use of having a cage which is so beautiful, but you don't have a bird, you're not taking care of the bird inside. So in the same way, many a time we only focus on our bodily needs and bodily distresses, but we don't understand that there is the real we are sitting within, and that needs to be, that needs attention. So next, what are the scientific proofs for the existence of the spirit soul? Let's see. Common sense, of course, consciousness, near-death experience, and reincarnation research. What does common sense tell us, right? We do say that somebody has passed away when he or she has died, right? Who is that person who has passed away? That's the question, right? We do understand this. People say it all the time. People say it, oh, he has passed on, she has passed on, right? That means what? Somebody who was actually within that body has passed on. So the body was left behind and somebody else passed on, right? We understand this intuitively. Let's look at the next reason. Consciousness. Dead matter is not conscious, but we can actually, without even being programmed the way a computer is programmed, we can differentiate between different types of light or between, different types of people, right? Why is that? So there is a fundamental difference between living entities and machines, and that is consciousness. We are conscious. So we have feeling, we have thoughts, we can will, right? We can make decisions, whereas a machine can only be programmed to do these things, right? Near-death experiences. So there have been a lot of, documented cases of people who had some very severe accidents or, were just about to die. And then, at some point they actually literally had an out of body or a near-death experience, which they later on described, right? They came back, they didn't die, but they could describe. So now look at this, a very interesting Professor Ian Stevenson from the Carleton University. He has actually investigated over 3,000 cases of, past life memories, people with past life memories. So, I mean, this is just some books which you can see, right? It's not something which is just imagination, right? There have been a lot of scientific research on this. Then also some proofs of the existence of soul are the phobias, right? If somebody's life ended in drowning in the previous life, then they would have a phobia of water. Similarly, twins, right? You'll be amazed, right? I think you have seen this. Even though twins are so commonly, seen in this world, if you know some twins, you will see that they're born from the same genetic material, right? We all know that scientifically, but strikingly different. It's like they may be just opposite natured, completely. I have seen this personally, like some twins I know, they're just not similar in behavior. And why is that? Because basically they're two different persons with two different backgrounds, coming from two different past lives. The next part is a very important part where we'll try to understand the difference between a living person and a robot, because we are living in times where we are trying to empower machines, and we actually many a time feel that machines are better than human beings in many ways. Yeah, of course they are better in some ways, but we have to understand the fundamental difference between the two so that we can lead a meaningful lives. So one person, he asked this Swamiji that, I think our body is just a complex machine that gets worn out and crashes. Why should we bother about some soul powering the body? So then Swamiji gave an interesting answer. So here Prabhupada says, does your car or computer grow? Can it produce a male? You have a male and a female car which can just reproduce and produce a baby car, right? No. So there's a fundamental difference. It's not that we just, are like machines which will just deteriorate and die, because we grow. Machines don't grow. Similarly, we reproduce. We have so many other functions which machines don't have. What are these 6 changes which all of us undergo? Birth, growth, and in between you have maintenance, and then you have production of byproducts, which means reproduction. Then you have dwindling, and finally you have death. All of us go through this, any living being. But matter doesn't go through this. For matter, basically creation, birth, and then there's directly like maintenance, and then basically dwindles and it dies. Now let's try to understand the way our mind functions and how we are not just different from our soul, we the soul, but we are also different from our mind. The mind is actually the storehouse of thoughts and desires and everything, which we in our daily life affects. But the intelligence is the decision maker. Just like okay, you want to decide, okay, what in a difficult situation you have to make a decision now. What should I do next in my career? Maybe should I go for engineering? Should I go for medical? So all of you have taken the choice. You've come to a maybe engineering stream. Your intelligence helped you to make the decision. Now the mind may say, okay, take the easiest path, but the intelligence tells you, no, this is what is good for you, you should do this, right? And of course we have our senses, right, through which the mind acts. These 5 senses are like the 5 horses. You can see you can imagine what will happen if 5 horses run in 5 different directions. Crazy, right? It's madness. The reins of these horses, they are like our mind. So with that mind, we can actually control the senses. We can bring them, rather than being controlled by them, we control them. But who controls the mind? It's the intelligence, which is compared to the driver of the chariot. But who are we? We are different from all of these. We are the soul, that means the passenger who's sitting in this chariot. And what is the chariot compared to? The chariot is the body. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, very interesting, Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenat vaimatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varte tatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. And for him who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So we see some examples, like for example, Hitler, even in modern times, like people who could not control their minds, and literally the mind can convince you to commit the greatest crimes and think that you're actually doing the greatest like benefit to humanity or to others. It's very important to understand that whatever we put on in our mind, right, garbage, if we put in, then it will also be at some point garbage which comes out. And if you put in good, then good comes out. Okay, so we are coming to the end. The last part of our presentation is about the practical benefits of knowledge. It's just going to divide us further, because then, it's basically all of these are bodily identification. This soul consciousness unites us. They all actually get together, united on the platform of the soul. Many times we get into inferiority complex, right? All of these things. I have no talent, I'm short, I'm not getting a job, whatever. So many reasons to be depressed about. But when you understand you're not the body, first thing it does is to help you uplift yourself, right? Because you know that, okay, fine, it's temporary. And like people commit suicide for some silly reasons. There was one student in IIT Bombay, I remember. He was a topper throughout his life. And when he came to IIT also, he was a topper. One fine year, I think he came second in the institute instead of first. And he was so depressed that he actually committed suicide just because he could not come first. So thank you all very much for your patient hearing. It's been great having all of you here.